The federal government made it official yesterday. Unionized federal public servants will have to undergo annual performance reviews that will lead to more of them being fired. Will it? The performance reviews are the latest measure by the Conservatives with the goal of making the federal public service more cost-effective. Tony Clement is Treasury Board President, and he joined us now. Mr. Clement, good morning.
Nice to be on your show, Bill.
I think a lot of people listening will be a bit surprised that this hasn't been the case for many years.
Indeed. There have been managers who have done performance reviews for their employees. It is not unheard of in the federal public service, but there's no sort of systematic across-the-board system that had been in place until now. So this is new. I think the idea, again, you know your listenership, they would agree that the idea of having regular performance appraisals, sitting down with a new employee, saying what our expectations are for that employee, having an ability to work with an employee who's underperforming, getting them up to grade, and failing that, of course, having an exit strategy for that employee. That's common in the private sector. It's common in other public sectors as well, and it's about time we do that federally as well.
What has taken so long, and what motivated you to finally bring this to be?
Well, I think there's been too many cases that we've heard about where and it affects the morale of the public service too. You might be working and be very dedicated and want to do a good job for Canada and do a good job for your employer, and then sitting right next to you at the workstation next to you is somebody who's trolling the internet for 7 hours or 8 hours a day, not doing their job, and it affects the morale of the public servant who actually wants to work hard. And of course, it affects the productivity of the work environment. So those stories are out there. I've heard them. Everybody who knows someone in the public service has heard a story like that. So it's about high time that we start to change the culture of the place, and this is one of the ways that I want to do that.
But what you've just described would seem to me to be indicative of very poor management.
I think absolutely. I think that we've got to train our managers better. We've got to give them the tools so that they can engage with their employees and have the right conversation, have the right documentation of in terms of the evaluations, know how to deal with underperformers, try to get them up to par, and then have the support. I told my senior managers, I have your back. If you have to make a tough decision and exit somebody, fire somebody from their job, I will have your back. I will be there for you as well. And that's an important message to get out to the managers.
Wouldn't many of the hardworking, efficient public sector workers welcome this? I mean, a performance review should give somebody an opportunity for advancement, for perhaps, is there any opportunity for somebody who's excelling at their job to gain financially through a performance review?
Absolutely. I think what we're trying to say and the signal we're sending out is, look, if you're doing your job, if you're excelling, if you're not only meeting standards but exceeding standards and objectives, we want to make sure your career advances and that you get more responsibility and obviously more remuneration with more responsibility. So that's the positive message out there. But they also want to hear that if you're underperforming, we don't turn a blind eye to it. We don't let that person stay at the workstation next to them doing nothing or next to nothing, and that somehow is acceptable because no one seems to manage that situation. So that's the two sides of the coin, if you will, Bill. You're quite right to focus on the positive as well as the negative.
Going to be talking with Robyn Benson, National President of the Public Service Alliance of Canada. They say they welcome feedback and performance reviews, but they want to be able to sit down with you and discuss how those performance reviews will work.
Yeah, listen, I guess I met with Robyn, I think it was last week, and so I have ongoing conversations with the union leadership, absolutely. If they've got some good suggestions that will help us implement the strategy, I'm all in favor of that. But this is the strategy. This is important for taxpayers to know that we expect excellence out of our public service because they are employed using taxpayer money. And so that part of it is not going to change. But if she wants to help us implement things so that it's fair and reasonable across the public service, let's have that conversation.
Have you found any way to put senators through a yearly performance review?
Well, you raise a good point because senators are unelected. and we have to make them more accountable. It's a 19th century institution that has to get into the 21st century, or if it cannot, then I think the call for abolition is going to grow ever stronger. So I'm glad that we have new rules in place for senators now in terms of their expenses. I'm glad that we're showing some leadership. Unfortunately, the Liberals have opposed us every step of the way on that, but we're going to move ahead on this and have much better rules in place, and I think that's a good thing.
Mr. Clement, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Tony Clement, Treasury Board President. We're going to talk with the National President of the Public Service Alliance of Canada next. Well, you heard Treasury Board President Tony Clement talking about unionized federal public sector workers undergoing annual performance reviews. The performance reviews are said by the Conservatives to be the latest measure with the goal to making the federal public service more cost-effective. Robyn Benson, National President of the Public Service Alliance of Canada, joins me now. Robyn Benson, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
You were listening to Mr. Clement.
Yes, I did.
And what were your thoughts, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I find it very interesting that Mr. Clement is saying that, there's somebody that excels in one seat and somebody who is an underachiever in another seat, and it's time that they look at this because, quite frankly, then how are the managers getting the bonuses that they're getting every year if they're not actually looking at performance of the individuals who work for them? Our members are looking for feedback all the time. Certainly, if you're doing a good job, you want to hear that you're doing a good job. So we're a little bit suspect about this, quite frankly, Bill, because I'm worried that it may be a way to further downsize or penalize our members in some discriminatory manner, because performance reviews, as I know them to be in my 33 years with the Canada Revenue Agency, we have them every year. So I'm surprised that Mr. Clement says that is not happening.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's policy at this company. It's policy at many, many companies. I was surprised to hear that this was something new. You're telling me that you and your members have been going through annual performance reviews?
We certainly have. As a matter of fact, Bill, in my other life, I was a team leader with Canada Revenue Agency, and I wrote many of these performance reviews for the staff that worked with me. Certainly from my perspective, that's why I'm looking at this saying, what is it that the government is really wanting to do? Is this another downsizing exercise that they're looking at? Mr. Clement has been quoted as saying that in the private sector, between 5 and 10% of the individuals are released, and yet it's only 0.06% in the federal public sector. So are you suggesting then, Mr. Clement, that your managers should be looking at 5 to 10% to release? I think that it's at 0.06% because I believe that our members are very proud of the work that they do. They service Canadians, and we should be more worried, if you will, about the services that are being lost to Canadians with all of the budget implementation acts that have come through in the last number of years.
Are your members pushing back to annual performance reviews? I mean, are they concerned about this? Are they afraid of this? Do they think it's a means by which the government wants to downsize?
I think what our members, will be looking to have positive reinforcement. They're going to be looking for feedback that tells them about how well they're doing in terms of the work they're doing for Canadians. If there is a poor performer, and I say if, then there's an obligation on management to provide training. If somebody comes into the government, there's an obligation for the department to train that individual. And if they need, some improvement, then there's an obligation to retrain them. There's work that you need to do. You cannot bring somebody in and just plunk them down and say, okay, now process employment insurance checks. There's training. I mean, we work with many regulations, many acts. So, we're very proud of the work that we do. And quite frankly, I think that our members will welcome a feedback because it should, by and large, be very positive, unless there is a manager who perhaps doesn't like someone and uses it as a tool to discriminate against them. So, I would welcome some discussions with the Treasury Board and Mr. Clement in terms of this particular endeavor.
Robyn Benson, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Robyn Benson, National President of the Public Service Alliance of Canada. I want to know what you think about this. Are you surprised that there hasn't been a formal annual performance review? Ms. Benson says in many cases there have been, but this seems to be new policy that the government is announcing. Do you have an annual performance review in your workplace? Have you worked in the public sector? Have you worked for government? And have you worked for the private sector? Is there a distinctly different culture, one to the other? 604-280-9898. I welcome your calls, toll free, 1-877-399-9898. You're with Bill Good on CKNW News Talk 980, and my phones are open to you. Well, you heard both the Treasury Board President Tony Clement and Robyn Benson, National President of the Public Service Alliance of Canada. The feds are going to have their public sector workers undergo annual performance reviews. In the case of those who haven't already, some have, it would appear, and some have not. Your thoughts, 604-280-9898. Tracy.
Yeah, I just think it's another one of Harper's sleazy ways of slashing the spending that he's doing all over the country, perhaps to find his $3.1 billion that he lost. And also, I think they should have a big review in their own backyard before they start hitting on the little people.
Do you have a problem, though, with an annual performance review?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, not at all. But I know several people that work for the federal government, and they always had that. I don't get what he's, in the federal prisons, in income tax. My husband worked for on dredging on the river with the Department of National Defense. Yeah, I mean, so I don't get it.
Okay, thank you, Tracy.
Yep, thanks.
Parm, good morning.
Oh, hi, Bill.
Hi.
With your question just before the break, in my experience working both private sector and public sector, there isn't as much a difference as people like to think there is. Like, people think that in public sectors you're not getting the productivity, but I find in the private sector, anywhere I work, there's a certain type of personality, a certain type of person that works harder at not working than just doing the job. And I encounter those people anywhere, and that's just a part of the workforce, and you just learn to deal with it.
But do you not find that if you've worked both, that there's less tolerance for that in the private sector, and it's easier for a private sector employee to shed a non-productive worker than it seems to be in the public sector?
Not necessarily, because I still find that they find the loopholes, they find ways to get away with what they're doing, and then they're just not the go-getter types, and nowadays it's harder for the employer to go out and find another person, retrain another person, than to just live with what you have and knowing that someone else will pick up the slack. And it's not that they're incompetent, they do the basics, they get the job done, but they're not out there to really do the best of jobs. They're just there to do enough, get their paycheck. But, like I said, I've seen them anywhere I've worked. I come across people like that. And then there's the other hand where you got people that are going above and beyond.
Yeah. Okay, Barb, thank you. Greg.
Hello.
Hi.
I was kind of surprised listening to the lady from the government union that made it sound like there was nobody not doing their job, that everybody got a review, and they were all spectacular. So it is kind of disconcerting when you're talking only 6.06% are ever let go. I have experience in government offices, and I can tell you there's more than 0.66% that don't deserve the jobs they have because they are not doing them.
Dave, your thoughts?
Yeah, hi, Bill. I don't know where this is coming from either. I've worked in the federal system for 38 years. I'm retired now, or 39 years, from entry level to director level. And one of the most important things that we stressed was an annual appraisal. Every supervisor had it in his duties. Every employee got an appraisal every year faithfully, and it was union.
Yeah, so it's hard to understand what's new.
Yeah, I don't know where this is coming from at all.
Mark, your thoughts?
Yes, good morning, Bill. I, too, have been listening to this story with a sense of amazement. I'm a retired federal government employee. I started working for the federal government in early 1974, I retired in mid-2002. I worked in Ottawa, I worked in Vancouver, and a number of other locations in British Columbia and the Yukon. Every year of my service, I received a performance evaluation. So my question has to be, when did they stop? Thank you.
Thank you. Rick, good morning.
Good morning. 2 points. First of all, it should be noted that most of the public, the federal government jobs that they hire individuals on terms. They don't. It's not like the olden days when you get in, you're set for life. They hire people on terms, and whether they keep you or not, more often than not, just speaking with people who are managers, more often than not, has nothing to do with your work performance. It's a numbers game. So sometimes somebody in one department, they're on a term, they are gangbusters, they get let go. Somebody else in a different department, they get a little bit extra funding, they're just getting the minimum, they keep their job. And secondly, it should be noted that, you know what, when you're working somewhere, work where you get rewarded for working, right? And when you're working in public service, you're working as a, some people say that the everyday job, you don't get bonuses, you don't get pay incentives. What incentive do the people have to go gangbusters? Nothing. It's like the director, one time when I graduated from university, I worked for the federal service for a few years. She told me, quote, move up or move out. She said, if you're gangbusters, work where you get rewarded for going gangbusters.
I would say you get rewarded with that paycheck every second week.
Well, the point is that you don't, when people say that, oh, well, people are sitting beside you browsing the internet, like Clement was saying, well, he's getting paid the same as you, right?
And shouldn't be kept on.
Well, good luck getting rid of the guy. If he's long tenure, 10, 15 years, he's an indeterminate employee. You kidding me? How are you going to get rid of him? Good luck.
Well, that's where I think there's a distinction between the private and the public sector. In the private sector, that person would tend to be gone. The exception in Ottawa, certainly these days, I don't know if it's an exception, but it's topping the news almost every night, and that's the mess in the Senate. And you think it's hard to get rid of a public sector worker. Try getting rid of a senator. We're going to talk with one right after the news next.